Good day, students. You are welcome to English Studies class. For today, we are looking at informal letters. I'll be teaching you informal letter. That is another type of letters. What are informal letters? Informal letters are letters written to people that are known to you, people you have close relationship with. They may be your friends, your parents, your uncles, your aunties, your classmates. That is why informal letter is also called a personal letter, or otherwise friendly letters. Apart from that, to write a very acceptable informal letters, there are features we need to know. That takes us to the features of an informal letter. Features of an informal letter. These features begins with the address. Begins with the address. The first feature of informal letters is the address. We have the address. 2, we have the dates. Number 3, we have the salutation. There is the body, otherwise called the content. We have the complementary clause that we could call the conclusion, or in some other occasion, we call it the subscripts. Having known these features, we're going to be explaining it one after the other. I'll begin with the address. The address talks about the place where you are writing and where you are sending your letter. That is the address. Apart from that definition, we have different patterns of writing the address. Specifically, we have 2 patterns. We have the block pattern that we could call the straight pattern, and the slanted pattern, otherwise called the indented pattern. Apart from these 2 patterns of the address, we also have 2 methods of writing the address. That is called the open method and the closed method. So I will be writing the first one on the board, which is the block method. Let's take a look at our school address, Fountain International High School. Do not forget, whenever you are writing something that has to do with a proper noun, the first letter must be in the uppercase form. So for Fountain, we have the F in the uppercase form. International, the I also in uppercase form. High School, the H in the uppercase form. Make sure all your letter I that is in the form of the lowercase is dotted. Fountain International High School, omission Jano. The O comes under F because we are practicing the block pattern. Omission Jano area. Here, the P.O. box. I hope you know why we are putting dots in between the P.O. box. It is so because it is abbreviated. Whenever you are abbreviating a word while writing, you put the dots to indicate that. P.O. box 540 Ado Ekiti. Whenever you are writing a letter within the states, you do not need to put the states after you have written the state capital. But if your letter is going to be sent outside, it's very important that you indicate the state where the letter is written from. Now, if you look at this address properly, you pick up your ruler, you find out that it is a straight pattern. And the other time I said we have 2 methods of writing the address. The method that is open and the other that is closed. The open method is saying you are to punctuate at the end of the lines. If you look at the end of my lines in this address, there is a punctuation mark. And the last one, I inserted my full stop. You can decide to operate the close method. The close method is saying do not punctuate at the end of the lines. That's what is happening right now. So this is an example of a block pattern. After this is the date, as I explained. The new conventional rule says whenever you want to write the date, you give a space of one line before the date. Be that as it may, you could decide not to leave a space of one line since it's still accepted in the WAEC form. But I will be taking that which requires you to give a space of one line. Today's date is 15. Whenever you're writing the date, you make sure the TH is equal length with the figure. 15th February, your F in the uppercase form. And there is a compulsory comma after the name of the month. Without that comma, you will be penalized. Half a mark will be deducted from your score, 2021. You could decide to insert a full stop at the end of the year, or you leave it without the full stop. This is the format of the block pattern. Now, this block pattern is only for the address. It's not extended to the date. That is why even if my date is not in the block form, it is accepted. This is an example of the block pattern. Having known that, let's take a look at the other one, which is the slanted pattern. For the slanted pattern, we still use same address, but this time around, when you want to write omission journal, your O comes under the O in fountain. Okay, the P will come under letter M of omission journal. Why the A at do comes under O, that stands for office. Then don't forget, you insert your full stop. If you look at this now, when we rule, it is the slanted pattern following the open method. Then your date comes. Don't forget, we do not write our dates the casual way teachers write date whenever they come to class to teach. This is the conventional way of writing the date. Please do not forget that. After your date comes your salutation. Don't forget, we are talking about the informal letters. Take for instance, you were asked to write a letter to your father describing the economic meltdown that befell the country as a result of the pandemic. That's an informal letter, and your recipient is your father. Therefore, in your salutation, you simply write, "Dear Father." Whenever you're writing your salutation, do not open a paragraph. Start at the beginning of the lines in your booklet. The D in the uppercase form. F for father in the uppercase form, and then you insert your comma. This comma is very compulsory. Without a comma, there is a penalty for it. If you look at my salutation, it's a two-way salutation. You can decide to make your salutation a three-way salutation. But in this case, when your salutation is in a three-way salutation, the second word at the middle will be written in the lowercase form or true. You could say, "My dear father." My dear father. The M in the uppercase form refers to the reason why you are writing the letter. And it's very important for you to understand the content of your letter before you embark on your letters. That is why understanding the question gives you the room to explain the body properly. That body gives you 10 marks if you write well. So in the body of an informal letter, there is this language you need to use. Number one, informal letter requires a loose language, chatty words. There is room for proverbs. There is room for slangs. There is room for colloquial expression. You could decide to say, "I am writing you this letter to inform you of the present situation in Nigeria after the pandemic. Daddy, it has been ups and downs." Ups and downs, you know, it's not in the literal form. It is just a way to ease the tension of your recipient. Therefore, the language of an informal letter is the informal language. You are also advised to abbreviate whenever you are writing an informal letter. An example is this. Instead of saying cannot, you could use can't. Just say can't. This is only allowed in an informal letter. All other letters, like the formal letter, you do not abbreviate. After, in the body of your letter, whenever you are using the first person personal pronoun, that is I, as much as possible, you write it in the uppercase form. If it's going to appear in your letter 5 or more than 5 times, you make sure it is in the uppercase form. Do not forget. As I said, the language of an informal letter is friendly. So there is room for you to chat. There is room for you to crack jokes. There is room for you to make use of slangs, as the case may be. Then comes the conclusion, otherwise called the complimentary close. The only acceptable way of closing an informal letter is simply yours sincerely. That is at the left hand side, lower side of your booklet. You simply write yours sincerely. The Y in the capital letter, otherwise known as the uppercase form, then the S in small letter. Do not forget, S in small letter, followed by a compulsory comma. Do not write your father's name. Why? An informal letter is a friendly letter. You know the person you are writing. In other words, you know your recipient. Therefore, it is not necessary to insert or write the surname for an informal letter. Next class, I will be bringing a model informal letter as an example to help us understand how the body of an informal letter should be written under examination condition. Next episode, we'll take that.